Hey everyone, so a while back I made a commitment that I was going to make a series of videos in defense of the fine-tuning argument for the existence of God, or to put it more simply, an argument from design. Pretty much the only argument from design that is used in modern day discourse, and if you really want to get fancy you can call it the teleological argument. But anyway, in true form for me, I made this commitment and then I let months pass before I did anything about it, and now it's pretty much the end of the year, and I'm just now getting to it. But hey, when I commit myself to something, I'm gonna get it done no matter how late it is, because I stay true to my word. So here we are now, and I'm going to start this potential series. I say potential series because whether I make any more videos on this subject depends on whether I get any pushback and objections from the comments, and B, whether I find any objections myself down the road that I think warrant a response. So I figured I would start this potential series by answering an objection which gave me pause for a while, which made me think, maybe these guys are right, maybe we cannot say that fine-tuning is true after all. And the reason it gave me pause is because the objection attacks the idea that we can make any design claims about the universe in the first place. Essentially, it goes like this. Anytime you try to make the claim that the universe was designed in any kind of way, you'll get stopped and told, wait, you can't make that kind of claim because we only have one universe to compare to. Therefore, we cannot make any claims about whether it was designed or not, precisely because there's only one universe to compare to. And like I said, that gave me pause. That made me stop and think, wait a second. I don't really know how to answer this. These guys might have a point. And it wasn't until I dug into the literature, I read a couple books on the subject, specifically the books A Fortunate Universe and Cosmological Fine-Tuning Arguments for those who are curious. So I read the literature and then I took in the information and condensed it into a simple, thorough response. And that is this response that I'm going to give today. So the response that I would give to anyone who poses this objection is that the objection misses the mark because it fails to understand how it is that we come to the conclusion of design. We come to the conclusion that there was a designer behind the universe based on probability principles and the precision of certain factors in the universe, neither of which require another universe to study. So let me elaborate on that. In the field of probability, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but in the field of probability, it is generally accepted that the more precise conditions an event needs to meet to occur, the less probable that event is of occurring. So put simply, the more things that need to go right for an event to happen, the less likely that event is of taking place. To take place, rather. But let's apply that principle. Let's say that we are trying to determine the probability of the universe being life permitting. So being able to support any kind of life, not just human life. So what needs to go right for the universe to be able to support any kind of life? Well, it turns out that a lot of things need to go right. It turns out that gravity needs to be calibrated perfectly. It turns out that the weak force needs to be calibrated perfectly. It turns out that the masses of all those boring things that we learned about in chemistry class, atoms, electrons, etc., the masses of those things need to be just right. Otherwise, chemistry can't work, and if chemistry can't work, then chemicals can't react, and if chemicals can't react, then we can't have life, any kind of life at all. So we would just have a empty, dead universe because atoms and electrons and the like don't work. And there are so many more factors that go into this. And if you want a source for all these claims, A Fortunate Universe, again, great book. You can read that and you're going to see all of these things that require precision. These need to be precise. Otherwise, we would have a dead universe that doesn't support anything at all. So when all of the factors are accounted for and added together, and the probability of all of them being as precise as they needed to be to permit life is calculated, which luckily we do not have to do because actual physicists have already done this math for us, the number that we end up with is massive. It's astronomically big. It's in the trillions and beyond. It's so big that I don't think that anybody can actually remember that number without writing it down. Hence why I didn't give an exact figure. I don't think anybody could give an exact figure. But needless to say that the person who claims that all of this happened by chance is taking a huge leap of faith, and the design hypothesis is a lot more reasonable. Because think about it. Just think about everyday examples, okay? Let's say we were playing cards or dice or something, and your opponent always consistently got the best hands and the best rolls endlessly. Just did not stop. Just on the probability of cards and dice alone, we would determine that the person is cheating, that they rigged it in some way. And that's just with cards, right? That's just with cards. So imagine the kinds of numbers that we're working with when discussing the probability of the universe being life permitted, which, as I've already mentioned, are massive. And massive in this case, by the way, doesn't mean that the probability is high. As I'm sure you know, the numbers in this case indicate that the probability is very, very low. So if you would justifiably conclude that the probability of someone that you're playing cards with getting the perfect hand, I don't know, I want to say like 20, 30 times in a row, for example, is low because of how precise the hand needs to be and how unlikely it is that it would be precise, then we, who are working with bigger numbers, therefore meaning lower probability speaking, we can justifiably conclude that the universe has been tampered with and designed in some way, and that is the essence of the fine-tuning argument. And so what all of this means is that the objection that we only have one universe, so we can't make these kinds of determinations, falls flat because we don't actually need any more. All we need is for these principles that I'm laying out about probability and these factors to be true. And none of these things, to my knowledge, are disputed within the scientific community or in the field of probability, meaning that any proponent of the fine-tuning argument can more than justify the conclusion of a designer behind this universe without needing to venture into another universe. So that is my response to the objection. The only thing that I'd add from here is that if we go all the way to the beginning before we even responded to the objection, I think it's worth asking the question of what having access to another universe to study would even do for the discourse around this issue. Because I think that you can theoretically continue to ask this question infinitely. I think that you can say, oh, well, who's to say that those two universes, for example, are designed? Let's add another one, and then add another one, and add another one. And you're never going to get anywhere because you're not looking within the universe, and you're not looking at any kind of probability principles. You're just asking for an endless amount of universes to kick the can down the road, so to speak. And I just don't see an end to it. So I think that the objection suffers from that problem as well. But again, let me know what you guys think, because I would like to think that I answered this objection thoroughly. But I mean, doesn't everyone like to think that when they're answering arguments? I'd like some feedback from you guys in the comments. What do you guys think about my response? Did it miss the mark? Does the objection miss the mark? Has it been answered thoroughly? And if you enjoy this kind of content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, because we do this type of content all the time, and I greatly appreciate any support that I get. But with that being said, everybody, I hope that you enjoyed the video. I hope that you found it insightful. I hope that you learned something. I don't know, maybe you think I'm full of crap. But either way, I will see you guys in the next one. God bless.